The United Nations declared 19th November World Toilet Day. Did you know the earliest toilets go back to the 4th millennium BC? The city of Uruk in Mesopotamia had the earliest known internal pit toilet in 3500 BC. The Neolithic village of Skara showed small internal rooms over communal drains, and the Indus Valley civilization in India and Pakistan had the world's first known urban sanitation systems in 2800 BC. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo, where we're positive, daring, different. On the show today, a quick tour of Colombo's newest city hotel, what we need to know about mental health, and priorities for the private sector. If you like what you see on Kaleidoscope, please do like us, follow us, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Our partners are the best: Amari Colombo, Srilanka Life, CDB, and The Daily Morning.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and EV vehicles.
This is CDB Snapshot, and here's looking at the week that was.
The Sri Lanka Banks Association says the rupee will remain on very comfortable terrain in the coming years. A win for equality, Sri Lanka sees its highest ever number of women in parliament with 21 MPs. The Swiss government successfully concludes the Safe Labour Migration Programme in Sri Lanka after 14 years. Cal Research finds the average Lankan consumes 15 GB of data per month, and it's rising. A mob of 200 monkeys run riot in central Thailand, and police barricade themselves into their own station in fear.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
And here's Srilanka Life News Capsule.
With a new president and a new parliament in place, Sri Lanka seems to be moving rapidly towards a new era of governance. But as we ready ourselves for a change in leadership and in policy, let's turn our attention towards the private sector. Here to discuss is Shiran Fernando, Chief Economic Policy Advisor at the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce.
What is the private sector's expectations of a new administration?
With every new government, the key point of contention is policy consistency, and that's something the private sector will echo every single time. But now, more than ever, is really staying on track in terms of the IMF program, completing the debt restructuring, so that the stability kind of continues in terms of the foundation that has been laid post the economic crisis from 2 years ago. And now we can look forward towards growth, and for that a lot of reforms and things need to be prioritized to get towards that.
How do you see investment panning out, and what sectors are you foreseeing as having some growth?
So Sri Lanka's inherent issue has always been that we've not attracted good quality investment, and also investment that will spur exports and really lock ourselves with the value chains around us. And that's a lot of reasons, and I think what we need to kind of relook at is how can we improve the trade facilitation side of it, so that when investors come here, it's a plug and play situation. There is no issues at the border in terms of customs. Some of those changes happen and things are reformed on that side. Then the overall digitization story, because that's something that private sector would really like to see. Then labor reform as well. It's difficult with so many labor legislation that are there for investors to navigate through, and really modernize into the current way of work, getting empowering and getting more women participation in the labor force also, which is quite important as well. So a lot of these pieces really need to come together, because other countries are offering different things. It's a plug and play facility for a lot of countries, and we have to compete to be able to get those.
So like you mentioned, when it comes to FDIs, we have fallen short considerably and continuously. Why is it that we do fall short and we just can't seem to compete in this region?
So if you look at countries like Vietnam, it was a 15 to 20-year program they kind of underwent to really be modern, to have that plug-and-play facility, to have investment zones, which even sometimes are managed by the private sector. You do kind of those reforms at the border, and then you go and do these free trade agreements which enhance market access. So Sri Lanka has somewhat of an advantage in terms of we've done some free trade agreements. We have the Pakistan one, the Indian one, so and now the Thailand one, Singapore one will get activated. So there's access to over 2 billion. The location is something we'll always have. It's not going to go away. It's really how can we position ourselves to be an export center for South Asia and namely India, and really plug into the value chains in India. Even it could even be South India. Oftentimes we've relied just providing either tax holidays or tax incentives to lure these investors. And if you look at a lot of the investments have either been non-export related, either infrastructure, real estate. A lot of those ones have really come in. Yes, some of those are needed, but now we need to be able to produce some of these assets need to be produce dollars, so that when we eventually have to start repaying debt at a considerable rate in 2028 and 29, we have the dollars that are coming in from these investments.
Here's how our markets performed this week.
At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the All-Share Price Index moved down marginally, but the average daily turnover remained at above 2 billion rupees. Oil prices remained flat at $72 per barrel as the Ukraine war potentially disrupting oil supply from Russia and growing Chinese crude imports offset data showing US crude stocks rising. Gold prices, which fell from record highs last week, moved up to $2,625 per ounce as Russia-Ukraine tensions sparks a rush for safe haven assets. The Sartan are known as the Reindeer people and are a community that lives in North Mongolia in harmony with reindeer.
In the recent past, the media has handled news related to suicide with something less than dignity, and it seems that many of our youth are succumbing to suicide more and more. Sri Lanka's suicide rate is 15 per 100,000 currently, and if we don't take action, that number could climb. With me today is Peshali Fernando, consultant psychologist and founder and director of Waves of Transformation, whose work in the field can no doubt lend some unique insights into this burgeoning problem. What are the common causes for suicidal tendencies among youth here in Sri Lanka?
First, what I want to say is we want to be mindful that what youth might be experiencing as overwhelming stresses could be very different than adults. So we cannot minimize what they go through. First, I would say there are signs such as past history, mental illness, untreated mental illness, thoughts of suicide and previous attempts, things like that are really, really important that we should consider. The other thing that's really important is these situational factors, right, which are called predicaments. Relationship breakups, sometimes love doesn't go the way we want, right? Academic pressure that's so immense at this moment in Sri Lanka. Conflicts in family, cultural norms that are very different from back in the days to now. All these affect as factors, and they are a combination of factors. They are not just one or the other. I also want to address the social factors that we don't really talk about. For youth especially, we may not find an adult who really cares for them, who will listen and pay attention to them. So a lot of the times things are hidden. So there's no place to open up and talk about it. Then there is peer pressure, right? So I think it's a combination, and as a nation, we really should look at not the main factor that we call important, but the situational and the social factors.
How do we understand about suicide so that all this, the negativity stops?
I think we don't understand the fundamentals of it, and there's lots of misunderstandings of the detrimental effects that suicide leaves behind in families. Also, we have negative perceptions even about our youth and families who would seek help, right? We would say that they're weak. Actually, they're really strong if they do seek mental health support, because that's what we should do. And also, again, socioeconomic levels. So we need to be aware what it is that make people wanting to end their lives. Being able to understand and really grasp that something somebody is going through is unimaginable, and it's unimaginable pain. So I hope that would see the way we think, and a mindset change is needed.
What words do you have for those who are perhaps on that ledge of suicide?
First thing I want to say, it's okay not to be okay. Okay, it is okay to do that, and that you're not alone, right? Seek help. You're so strong for doing that. Take one step at a time, and I want you to be able to know that there are people out there that's very trusting that they can go to. So I'll encourage them, if they're youth, especially since we're talking about youth, to encourage them to talk to their family, any trusted person, and ask for help. I want you to believe in yourself. You are not alone. You have help. Please seek out. You're very strong for doing that.
What words do you have for parents who have had to deal with a child who has died by suicide?
I really want to say I'm so sorry for that loss and the loss that you're going through. I want you to know that you must feel your feelings, the emotions that you'll go through, the grief, it's a part of grieving. So the blame, the shame, the sadness, the frustration, thinking that we could have done things differently. So feel those, and at the same time know that in the same family, let's say the parents would grieve very differently. And I want them to be given space to do so. In the process, I'd also want to alert you not to blame each other. I think that's a really important part. Then finally, I also want to say help is out there. Seek professional help, because the professionals, trained professionals, can help you with that grieving process. It's not just about that. Through that, you will learn a lot of self-awareness and insight about yourself. So it makes very powerful healing. And then engage in activities, talk to others, but if you need time for yourself, inform the others that you need time to grieve.
It's been a difficult conversation, let's put it that way, but thank you for all you're doing. Different today because we are on the 26th floor of the soon to be opened Amari Colombo, which is an Onyx Hospitality Group property. And I got a sneak preview of what the property is all about. And Indika Jayawardena, who is the head of house, took me on a tour. Amari Colombo is set to open on the 30th of November, and we were quite excited to get a quick, almost a hard hat tour of what this newest city hotel will look like come December.
So Chancellor is our single malt and craft gin bar. So it's going to have a huge range of single malts, craft gins, and of course our premium arracs that are going to be served here, so that people can have a little bit of the Sri Lankan flavor also. And apart from that, we're also going to have what we call tailor-made cocktails. So that means apart from our curated cocktail menu, our mixologists will also make some very special cocktails according to your liking. So now we're in Club Pahana, this beautiful area on the 24th floor, which is basically for all our exclusive guests, our club level guests who are also in our suites and our presidential suite, the Ceylon suite. So now we're at Prego on the 26th floor on this beautiful rooftop. So this is where our Italian restaurant Prego is going to be. So we're just awaiting our Italian chef Marco Boschiani, who's going to come in from Thailand, who's actually our chef from for all the properties that are running Prego. So this will be the next outlet opening in Sri Lanka.
This is the Mira Lounge. What's special about it?
So for here, you're just about to enjoy the amazing coffee made from our custom-made Victoria Arduino machine. And also for the guests in future, we will have our beautifully curated Thai high tea, which is done in conjunction with our chef pair from Thailand, as well as our consultant, Michelin star chef, Chef Boy from Thailand also.
So with that sneak preview of Amari Colombo, we will see you next week.